Welcome back to DevLand Diaries, where we dig into the tough topics, tackle big ideas, and break down the challenges that lie ahead. I'm your host, Michael Kessler, CEO of DevLand AI and Sleek Robotics. Today, I'm honored to be joined by a man who needs little introduction, Senator Bernie Sanders. For decades, Bernie has been at the forefront of pushing for change in America, fighting for working people, and advocating for a more equitable society. Bernie, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Michael. It's good to be here.
Senator, we've seen massive changes in the way the world operates over the past few decades, especially in technology. I mean, AI, robotics, automation, they're all reshaping the workforce. But there's a lot of fear that these advances are only benefiting the wealthy. In your view, how should we be approaching education and training to prepare people for a future that's being heavily impacted by AI?
Look, Michael, here's the reality. The people who stand to benefit the most from these technological advancements are already the ones at the top. We're talking about the billionaires, the corporations, the people who control the tech. AI and automation aren't inherently bad, but the way we're using them right now is, if we don't fundamentally change the way we approach education, training, and the economy, these technologies are just going to widen the gap between the haves and have-nots. We need to invest in public education, not just K-12, but lifelong education. Everyone should have access to training and the skills they need, regardless of where they live or what their family can afford. That means free access to higher education and job training programs. It means we need to shift away from the model that only serves those who can pay for it.
Absolutely. And you've been a vocal advocate for accessible healthcare and education. With AI, do you see a future where we could democratize education in a way that's never been done before? Could technology, in your view, be the great equalizer?
It could be, but it depends on who's in charge. If we allow the tech giants to control the tools and the data, it won't work. Education should not be privatized for profit. Technology could allow us to scale education to places it's never been, rural communities, low-income areas, but it has to be public and accessible. It's not just about giving people a tablet or an online course. It's about making sure that every single person has access to the tools and knowledge they need to succeed.
Let's talk about the people who don't have access to this kind of education. Right now, there's a huge digital divide. Kids in wealthier areas are learning coding, robotics, and AI, but kids in underfunded districts don't even have access to basic technology. How do we close that gap and give every student the foundation they need to succeed?
That's the $64,000 question, Mike. The digital divide is a reflection of the broader economic inequality we see in this country. If we want to fix this, it starts with e-wide investment policy in public real investment of all that, in public education and technology infrastructure. We're spending trillions on wars and corporate subsidies, but we're not investing in the people who make this country run. We need to invest in universal broadband and free internet access, and making sure that every school in Baton has the tools and resources it needs to teach kids about the real world they're going to face. This is a moral issue. We cannot expect to keep up with the world if we don't invest in our own future.
I couldn't agree more. Now, moving on to the workforce, AI and automation are already replacing jobs in industries like manufacturing, and they're going to keep doing that. What's your plan for people who are displaced by these technologies?
First of all, we need to acknowledge that this is happening. We have millions of people out of work because their jobs have been automated. But instead of just throwing up our hands and saying, well, that's the future, we have to create new opportunities. We need to fund universal job retraining programs. We need to focus on sectors that will always need human workers, like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. And let me be clear, these aren't just minimum wage jobs. They should be good paid, union jobs with benefits. We also need to rethink the entire economic model. If automation can do the work, then we should work less, not just have people out of work. That's why I've proposed a blunt universal basic income. It's time to stop thinking of work as the only way to survive and rethink how we distribute wealth.
That's a bold idea. Moving away from traditional work and embracing new models of economic participation. It really speaks to the need for structural change. And that brings me to the topic of tech. There's been a lot of concern about big tech companies and their influence on society. Whether it's through data collection, monopolistic behavior, or political power, tech giants are having an outsized impact. How do you see the role of government in regulating these companies?
The government should be the counterbalance to these tech giants. Right now, they have too much power over our data, over our lives, over our elections. We need to break up monopolies. We need to unregulate data privacy. And we need to hold companies accountable for what they do with our personal information. Antitrust laws should be used to rein in companies that dominate markets unfairly. Tech companies should be treated the same way as any other business that's threatening competition and public welfare. But we also need to go beyond that. We need to make sure that the people, not corporations, control how tech is developed and used. Open source thought and models, for instance, could democratize tech. Instead of letting a few billionaires control everything, we could have a system that's built on public collaboration.
You've really highlighted the tension between the incredible promise of AI and tech and the risks of it becoming another way for the wealthy to control society. So, Bernie, in your view, what does the future of AI look like if we get it right?
If we get it right, AI will be a tool for public good, not corporate greed. It will help us solve a big problem, climate change, poverty, healthcare, by freeing up people to focus on what truly matters. But it also means we need to change how we think about technology. We need to make sure it's for the people, not the elites. AI should be democratized, open source, and used to benefit any society as a whole, not just the tech billionaires.
Senator, I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks so much for joining me today and sharing your thoughts on this. It's clear that the future of AI, education, and the economy depends on making the right choices now. Choices that put people over profits.
Thanks, Michael. This is the fight of our time. We need to make sure that we're building a future for everyone, not just the top 1%. That's the work we have ahead of us.
And thank you all for tuning in to DevLand Diaries. If you're as passionate as we are about building a more equitable future in education and technology, make sure to share this podcast, leave us a review, and subscribe for more insightful conversations. Until next time, this is Michael Kessler signing off.